Good evening, friends. Meeting after a long time, big gap. We have started discussing about the chapter, 16th chapter from the Kant's philosophy, that is the oversensitive patient. And we have learned few aspects of it in last lecture. It is nothing but related with the thing that what happens when two similar diseases meets inside one human being in the natural state. And then he explains that they neither repels one another, they neither never suspends one another, and never forms a double complex disease or complex disease. But generally, it happens that a stronger disease permanently removes the weaker one. That is it extinguishes the weaker one, and that's what we have discussed. So Hahnemann's aspect of looking towards it, in order to explain exactly the nature's law of cure, he tried to explain with different examples. He has collected it from different sources. These are not sources from the homeopathic journals, but these are sources which are collected from the different journals, and from which he has tried to explain all those things. So this concept he tried to explain over there in relation with the sensitivity of the patient. We have finished up to the paragraph that there was a time in the earlier days of homeopathy when taking into view the great array of disease forms to be contented with and with very few medicines, then at his command, the homeopath was worried to find remedy similar to that of his cases. That cannot be true now. If the homeopath will work in a systematic way, he will be able to command enough of the materia medica to meet all diseases that he comes in contact with, the symptoms of which are sufficiently observed. And this paragraph we have finished. That now there are many medicines available. During Hahnemann type or in the past, there were very few similimums available. Now there are more than 3,000 medicines are available over there, and because of which it is possible to find it out a perfect simillimum for the case. So it is not necessary for us to find it out or wait for the natural similar disease will happen and this old disease will disappear. It's not the time now. We have ample medicines in our hand which forms the simillimum in the with the patient's diseases, and with that we can approach and we can treat. And then he has started. Every man should put himself to the task of studying the materia medica. How to study the materia medica aspect, Hahnemann wants to explain. He has no time to lose, no time to fool away. Everyone should learn the materia medica in depth sense. The physician can really have no excuse at present day to leave our crude medicines, the medicines that are recorded in our books. He can have no reasonable excuse for stepping aside into ways that are dark, treacherous, and recommended only by tradition. Some physicians hold that it is liberal to do anything for the patient. This is the pitfall, rock that will destroy any physician that will not avoid it. We know that there are doctors who claim to be homeopaths who attempt to justify upon some ground or other the administration of remedies merely to palliate or relieve suffering. With such men, there must be a lack of sturdiness in listening to the sufferings of the patient. It seems to me that no one who is honest and who has knowledge of the stupidity that comes after the administration of the medicine that will cause the symptoms to disappear will actually tie his hands against the findings of the remedy that will be suitable to cure. As surely as the voice of the symptoms is hushed, so surely does the physician put out of his way the opportunity for selecting homeopathic remedy. When the index to the remedy is spoiled, the ability of the physician to benefit his patient is destroyed. So he is giving example that how to go ahead to find it out similarly. It is a big task. Here you should have a patience. Here you should give you have to give a time to the patient. You should be quite, sorry, you should be a very good listener. You should must listen each and every sentence what the patient narrates. That narration is very important because you have to find it out a simillimum for the state of the person and not only for his just a disease symptom. But there are many people who lacks this patience. They don't have impatient. They don't have patience. They are impatient. And such homeopathic physicians, what do? Instead of finding it out right simillimum by studying the case, they just try to prescribe the homeopathic remedy on the basis of allopathic aspects. And because of which they never get cure, which ideally they should. Then they approaches to the patients with the palliative aspect, or they just prescribe the remedy in the similar manner, and because of which patient never gets cured. This is the lack of patience in the homeopath, and that's what Hahnemann wants. One should be very thorough with the materia medica. He should learn the materia medica by heart and apply the materia medica by heart. Both the things are necessary. Listen the patient patiently and find it out exact minimum and give that to the patient. But if you don't do that, what happens? Then he explains. When the index to the remedy is spoiled, the ability of the physician to benefit his patient is destroyed. If you give quinine, go on with it. If you give an opiate, go on it. Do not go back to homeopathy. What he is saying, if you are finding it out opium for the patient, it's better to don't go to the homeopathy. It's simple that you palliate the symptoms with the opium. You palliate the symptoms of malaria with the quinine. You feel it's easy. Hahnemann says, if you choose that, don't go to the homeopathy again. Because you are finding it out a simplest way to palliate instead of curing the patient. The man who does these things in a homeopathic is a homeopathic failure. Some men are incapable of grasping the homeopathic doctrines and fall into mongralism, which is a cross between homeopathy and allopathy. And this was there during Hahnemannian time. They were practicing both things at a depending upon patient's demand. If they tries the homeopathy on the basis of allopathic aspect, gives medicine, fails, they blames homeopathy and gives allopathic medicine. Hahnemann uses the word mongrel sect for them because they are not giving time to understand homeopathy properly, not giving time to learn the materia medica properly, not giving time to listen the patient patiently, and they were failing because of which they are not getting proper results which they expect. And this is what he wants to explain, that if you are doing such a work, you are not doing homeopathic work, then you are nothing but the mongrel sect who used to keep both the things at a time in one patient, the homeopathy as well as allopathy. I would prefer an allopath to one who professes to be a homeopath, but who does not know enough homeopathy to practice it. And this is what he is explaining about them. That if you don't know the homeopathy, if you are an allopath, if you practice allopathy, it's okay. But if you are a homeopath and you are not studying homeopathy properly, and then you are utilizing allopathy, he blames them. He says that your science is pure. You must know the materia medica by heart. You must know the laws and doctrines by heart. And it is just your duty to apply the medicines according to the law of similar. But if you are not able to, it will not going to work. And this is what he is explaining over there, that this is shameful on the part of such types of homeopath who practices according to the patient's will. And to them, he has criticized by name of mongrels. Then he again goes further. Why should you put crude medicines upon the diphtheritic membrane in addition to giving your remedy? If the crude drugs do anything, they will spoil the appearance of throat, and you will not be able to know that your remedy has done. If these adjuvants, if these adjuvants to the remedy do anything at all, they will effect such changes as will damage the case. If they do not effect changes, why use them? There can be no reason for administering something that does not effect the changes. This question came up one time and created controversy in an association meeting. One doctor recommended the use of peroxide of hydrogen is in pus cavity. He said it did no harm. It did no damage. The question is, does it do anything at all? If it does, the changes will effect injure the cases. Effects injure the case. Lay it down as a rule that you will use nothing that can effect changes in the case in addition to your remedy. After you prescribe remedy, you want to know when you come back whether that remedy has done anything. So he puts very clearly a certain question. He explains over there that if you are giving certain medicine to the patient and in the crude form, apply it locally, many times it spoils the case. And it happens many times. If there is a diphtheritic tonsils or if there is a diphtheritic pharyngeal wall, and if you put certain drug in crude form over there, it damages that. Instead of giving a dynamic remedy internally, the potentized remedy internally, if you use such types of methods, it is hazardous. It causes a trouble. And then he puts one more question. There are many people who says that it will not harm. Then he puts one question. If it is not doing any harm, it will not be effective. Then why to use? And he has given one example of this meeting where one doctor explained that putting a hydrogen peroxide on the wound will not do any harm to the patient. Then he puts question, then why to use it? If it is not doing any change over there, then what is the use of it? And this explains, laid down as a rule that you will nothing that can effect changes in the case in addition to your remedy. After you prescribe remedy, you want to know when you come back whether that remedy has done anything. For this reason, you must rest your case upon that which you believe to be nearest homeopathic remedy. All changes must be watched because by observing changes, we know what next to do. So once you prescribe remedy, then you must observe what is happening. Does it make anything? Whether patient's symptoms are disappearing, whether patient's symptoms are increasing, in what way they are going, whether they are according to the Hering's law of direction of cure or against the Hering's law of direction of cure. Everything should be observed carefully. This is too important. It is not just prescribing for the patient, but just making a sense of observation to find it out whether your remedy is working or not working. All changes must be watched because by observing changes, we know what next to do. If something has been given by the patient's friend and changes have occurred in the case from such meddling, the doctor is in confusion. If absolutely no changes have occurred after his remedy, then he is in intelligence and knows what next to do. So if you give any remedy and nothing has happened, then you have to just watch, find it out exactly whether your remedy is doing any work or not. If it is not doing any work, then you have to wait. If it is not doing any work, then you have to change. You have to take into consideration the case in detail. Everything must be watched. If it is going in wrong direction, then you must find it out whether it is aggressive or mild. If it is aggressive, you have to antidote. If it is not aggressive, then you can wait. Don't repeat. Everything should be clearly watched, and that is what Kent has already explained in these lectures, that remedy reaction should be watched. The observations are necessary. How the person has reacted to the dose which he has taken. If any friend of the patient had administered something, then you have to be watchful whether patient's case is disturbing, going in right direction or wrong direction, or whether there is any problem. All those things you have to look for. Doctors sometimes give opium to suppress pain, but it is more frequently given to suppress the cry of the people that stand around listening to the patient. The friends that stand there writing, wringing their hands and saying, Doctor, can you do something? There, in my book, there was a wrongly written, cannot you do something? But it is not can. Can you do something? And the poor doctor loses his head, gives a dose of opium. And this is what happens many a times. In most of the cases, cancer cases, what do they do? The pains of cancers, the attendants are observing that he is suffering. The pain is the thing with which he is expressing his disease, but the pains are not bearable to the patient as well as to the attendants. And that's why the patient's attendants always ask for the remedy to relieve the pain. And because of the pressure of the patient and patient's relatives, the doctor starts prescribing opium derivatives. And then they use morphine. And patient feels temporarily better. But what you are doing? You are palliating or later suppressing. Doctor, can you do something? And poor doctor loses his head, gives him dose of opium. What does he do for that? In order to quiet the cry of the people, he knows he is damaging his patient. He knows he has put out of his hands the ability to cure that patient homeopathically. What if the patient does suffer? Can that be an excuse for the doctor destroying his power to heal that patient hereafter? The doctor justifies himself by saying, if I had not done him, the people would have criticized me. And this happens because of giving the opium, you suppress the symptoms, you suppress the expressions, you remove the expressions. And once you remove the expression, nothing remains in your hand to again tackle that case, to handle that case. But if you ask that doctor why you have gone for such a thing. He explains, if I would have not done this, they would have criticized me. Hanuman says, what business is it of the people? If a doctor has not the grit to withstand the cries of the family, the criticism of the friends, the threatening of his pocketbook and of his bread and butter, he will not practice homeopathy very long. Because this will going to happen. People are always like that. They never want to come out. Today only I had a case. The fellow who had cancer of stomach with severe pains on the face and metastasis. I have started him treatment and there was a history of suppressed eczema earlier. And after starting treatment for him, his cancer started getting relieved. His whole face edema disappeared. He was able to talk. He was able to swallow, and whole eczema returned back. They were calling me again and again, Doctor, please do for eczema. I have told them that you should not do anything. If it comes out, you will be get cured because of from the cancer. I, I was continuously focusing on that it is because of your these eruptions which you have suppressed, cancer has developed. But what peoples are like that, they never follows you. This happens many times. I explained them 10 times, but still that fellow went to skin specialist, again suppressed that those skin eruption. And today they recurred, they came with the recurrence on the another side with an opening over their formation of tumor. The thing which was repairing, nature has again, and the nature has already sent the things on the skin, they have again suppressed. This happens many times. I have spent more than 15 minutes to explain all those things, but the fellows were very difficult to tackle. This happens. Hanuman says that it is your duty to tell them the truth. Whatever they have to do, that is they can do. But it is your duty to tell them the truth, what will going to happen. An honest man does not fear these things. There is but one thing for him to consider what is the right thing to do in his case. And this is the one thing he must do. The harangue of crazy old woman who stand out begging for tattling tongues. What has that to do with life of the patient or the duty of the patient? Will they shoulder the responsibility of the patient death if he dies? I say now that the death of a patient is nothing in comparison with violation of law on part of the doctor. In both instances, doctor gets the worst of it. The doctor who violates the law also violates his conscience, and his death is worse than the death of the patient. Generally, the physician who has knowledge enough and grit enough to wait will see, before the patient dies, the homeopathic remedy that will control the case. The whole community is sometimes turned into the excitement because the doctor will not do this or that. Suppose the whole atmosphere is blue with the effects of their rap. That what has that to do with it? The physician who is stick by patient and let the people whole is one that will trusted through any and every ordeal. The doctor that will flinch and tremble at every threatening is one that who will violate his conscience and is one that can be bought, can be hired to do anything and will abandon his color in the time of emergency. It is hard work for homeopathy physician to settle off alone by himself, where he has nobody that will stand by him in his tribulations. The attitude of the public must never furnish the physician with indications as to do what he shall do. Let him study the patient and symptoms of the patient. That which is right is protected and supported, and that which is wrong degrades. Let a man lose his self-respect a few times. He becomes a coward and smug and is ready to do almost anything that is vicious and cowardly. The physician who has done rightly by his patient can look the friend squarely in a face when the patient has died. If he has administered morphine to the patient and turned aside all symptoms upon which he could find remedy, it does not seem to be that he can look the friend squarely in the face. Of course, if you act according to the principle in this way, you suffer for it. You will be called names. So he's giving example what happens when you seriously follow the norms. If you follow concisely, yes, definitely there might be a people who will going to criticize, who will going to blame you, all those things that will happen. But you should be firm with principles. You should be firm with your own methods. You should be firm with your own laws and follow them. For the patient's sake, don't change your thoughts. Don't apply allopathic medicines along with your own homeopathic medicine and just to satisfy the patients and patients' relatives' thoughts. If they want to go for it, they can, but you should not do that. And because you should be very firm regarding your thoughts, regarding your principle, regarding your doctrines, regarding your laws, and you should not change. If you are doing for the patient's sake, you are nothing but the mongrel's sake. And he is criticizing such types of people who, according to the patient's will, tries to prescribe allopathic medicines after homeopathic medicine, blaming the homeopathy. And this is wrong. He never blames it is his own failure. He blames homeopathy. Hahnemann criticizes those people who blames homeopathy on the basis of such things. And this criticism he has made for such a people who works with the patients. See, these concepts, if one borrows, this conscience if one develops that he should follow and strictly follow his own rules, then he will going to get a good name in future. Maybe he may be criticized for certain things, Let it be. It doesn't make any sense, but at least you remain with the truth. You never go towards the false. You never go towards the wrong. And Hahnemann expects that from you, that you should be firm with your principles, go with your principles, and do that only a single homeopathic practice instead of giving allopathic medicine to the patient. And this thing which he has mentioned in thorough over there in those aphorisms, right from 44 to aphorism number 60. All those things are he has mentioned. Now it is your duty to go and open the sixth edition of Organon of Medicine. Start from 44 aphorism to 60th aphorism. Read them along with footnotes, and you'll find what Kent has said is already mentioned by the Hahnemann in his sixth edition of Organ of Medicine, and those things will be cleared in your mind, and those will be very in a simple manner. Hahnemann have explained in those aphorisms, not even utilized very hard words over there. My suggestion to all of you: go through those aphorisms, right from 44 to 60, along with footnotes, and you'll understand what Hahnemann exactly wants to tell you. So we'll conclude on this line, and tomorrow we'll finish this chapter, which is related with the 63 and 64 aphorism. Those were right from 62 onwards, 63 onwards to the 70. And here completes, I think so, the first 70 aphorisms from the Organ of Medicine, the commentary by J.T. King. So tomorrow we'll conclude this theoretical part of the Organ of Medicine explained by Kent in his book. So that's all for today. Thank you being there, and we'll be meeting today at 8 o'clock with the Spongia tosta, a new remedy. Again, a remedy which is in comparison with the Drosera, which we have already learned in last. So that's all for today. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And we'll meet at night 8 o'clock.